Hello, good crowd. I am so incredibly excited. We have Daniel Flynn from Down Under in Australia. He's the CEO and founder of Thankyou, an incredible social enterprise that you're going to want to learn more about. He's also author of Chapter 1, You Have the Power to Change Stuff. Really an inspirational guy. Stick around. You don't want to miss this episode.
Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show with your champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you and really appreciate you making time. And thank your staff. I know we've been coordinating for months to make this happen. They've been so patient with me. Really appreciate it. I appreciate you and your team making this work.
Devin, it's good to be here. And you know what, if I sneeze at all, I think there's down under at the moment some pretty bad pollen in the air. My hay fever is just flared up. So, but it's so good to be with you.
Well, thank you. And you're welcome to sneeze all you want. Daniel, you have a remarkable founding story. I can't do it justice. Would you please share your founding story for us?
Yeah, look, it's funny. It is one of those things that when I get the chance to share it, it blows my mind that we're part of what is such a simple idea, but gaining so much momentum. And the simple idea began for me in a moment not too dissimilar to this. I mean, I was literally sitting in front of my computer and I was doing some research, and I came across the fact that 4,500 children were dying every day from waterborne disease. And that was a statistic. When I clicked into it, I watched stories of kids who didn't have access to clean water, but then they talked about losing their brothers and sisters to waterborne disease. And I thought, this is so wrong. What if this was me? And that thought got me because my sisters, Jess and Mel, I thought, imagine that. Imagine losing them to waterborne disease. And I discovered that, how would I even process that as their brother? And I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm literally crying. And I'm crying thinking, this is wrong, but also wrong the fact that in 2008, we were spending $50 billion globally on bottled water. Today, it's $140 billion. And I had this simple thought. Imagine if we could combine extreme poverty and extreme consumerism, the money we spend on stuff, and actually bridge that gap. And imagine if there was a brand that sold product and committed 100% of the profit to helping end extreme poverty, and that was this simple idea of Thankyou. And it began small. It began simple with a bottle of water. Probably the silliest consumer product on the planet, but we started there, and then now we've grown into over 55 products, from hand washes and body washes and diapers for babies, and we had food products at one point, all working to help end extreme poverty. And we commit 100% of our profit. That's what we do. But I think it's the how that has really changed everything. I think we got to connect a little bit, but in Germany, and I had this chance to share our story to, I don't even know, a lot of people in the room. 20,000.
Like 30,000 people, yeah.
Yeah. And it's this incredible story of people. Like people, humanity coming behind an idea. In the very early days, I mean, we had no money to launch this thing. We were meeting with factories. One factory manager said that he would back us with no upfront costs, which was a big deal. I remember we pitched to the largest distributor of beverages in our country. They work for brands like Lipton Iced Tea and Red Bull. And we're in the meeting. We're sharing the vision. We're going to change the world, one bottle at a time. And on the spot, in our first sales pitch, the director says, "Oh, I love it. I'm going to order 50,000 units from you guys." And then he said, "How quick can you get it to me?" And there's an awkward pause. And then I said, "Well, give us about 3 weeks." And he's like, that's quick. And I'm thinking, okay, it's quick. I mean, we were first year university students. We had no concept of manufacturing lead times. And
right.
I remember I called the factory and I said to him, and our factory manager was very skeptical. He said, "I don't think you'll ever get this deal. These guys are the top tier." And when I called him to tell me have the deal, he was shocked. And then I told him it's for 50,000 bottles and we have 3 weeks to deliver it. And I never forget when he was like, "What? Did they ask? Did they ask for that?" And I was like, "Oh no, we said 3 weeks." And it's a funny moment, but it sort of sums up Thankyou. We really haven't known what we were doing, and yet people have come around this idea. The thing we didn't expect, and this is probably the shock to us, was actually how hard it is to not just have an idea, but to launch into the consumer space up against the biggest multinational brands in the world. And our launch didn't quite go to plan. I remember there was a labeling issue, and Justine, our co-founder, myself, Jared, and some others were unloading the product. We went dead quiet because a third of all the product in every box, the label was scrunched on, and some to the point you couldn't read it. And there was a labeling issue. So our launch and product had at this point gone into stores. So we had a product recall was our launch, and that was shocking. And from there, we had this series of unfortunate events, and I could talk for like 3 hours about them, but the 30-second version is the recall. Then we got product back to market. It took us 12 months to get 350 stores holding our product, and then our factory didn't supply product for 5 weeks. And over 5 weeks, we lost about 350 customers. And we relaunched because 2 retailers, we thought they would say yes, but then they both said no. And that was discouraging, but then they both came out with their own bottle of water and that went to funding water projects. And it was hard. In fact, at that same time, our new factory we'd partnered with, we'd launched into a new distribution company. And that launch was like our 3rd relaunch. And then they went bankrupt. And we're just thinking, this is crazy. And the hardest thing, though, wasn't those things. It was the fact that every single retailer in our country said no. Now, it might start with this is cool. But when it came to the moment of we need to partner, it was, well, no, guys, you don't have the money. You're up against the biggest brands. We have limited shelf space, all the things. And that was for us after 3 years of getting no from every retailer in our country. That's when we discovered the power of people and the power of us. I remember we launched a little video on YouTube, and the video Justine and I shared in this video, we said, hey, everybody, 2 weeks from today, we're presenting Thankyou, our water, to 7-Eleven Australia. In Australia, 7-Eleven are a really big retailer, as in most parts of the world. And we said, we're asking you to jump onto their Facebook wall and say, 7-Eleven, if you stock Thankyou Water, I'd buy it. And this went viral. And people, like, I remember media, like, you can't do this. This is ambush marketing. And we're saying, oh, no, it's more pre-awareness, before our pitch. Yeah. But in 2 weeks, we had consumers singing and dancing and rapping. We had media covering the story. And then 7-Eleven said yes. And from day one, product didn't just sell, it sold so well. We became the number 3, then the number 2. At one point, we hit number 1. It was this amazing journey. And so it was at that point, 3 years in, we scale the business rapidly. We develop a food range that funds food projects, a body care range, I should have products with me. I'm at my own house, but we had hand washers and body washers. And then we created a tracker system where every product has a unique tracker code, and you can type into our website and get a report once a project's completed, the GPS coordinates that your product's funding. And so we developed this cool idea, and people said to us, you're crazy. And not in a good way. They said, you guys have gone for 2 years now and developed all of these products. But if you can't get one single bottle of water, which this is a true statement, if you can't get one bottle of water into Coles and Woolworths, the 2 biggest retailers who, in our country, they have 70% market share. It's not like the US. It's not like the UK. It's a duopoly. So for 5 years, the 2 supermarkets said no to this product, but we had an idea. And the idea was people. It was we. And yes, they'd said no for commercial reasons, but one Wednesday morning, we launched a video. The video was called the Coles and Woolworths campaign. Now, that is the name of the 2 retailers, Coles and Woolworths. Mm-hmm. So we branded them in the same sentence. And we asked people to upload a post, a video or something. We said 2 weeks from today, we're meeting with them and we need you to come in the room with us. And it was crazy. Media kind of blew up. because we're now pinning the two biggest supermarkets kind of against each other. And our heart wasn't to be cheeky. It wasn't to be kind of these guerrilla tactics. It was just simply, we need them to see the power of this brand and its people, it's the consumer. And this went so well. In fact, one of my favorite parts it was when we flew helicopters, one in Melbourne, one in Sydney. So during the campaign, these helicopters flew with these huge signs, "Dear Coles, dear Woolworths, thank you for changing the world," in brackets, if you say yes, because we haven't met yet. Right. So we flew over the cities and around the head offices of the supermarkets for half an hour. And man, did that get some attention. And a long story short, 5 hours after the meeting at Coles and 3 hours after Woolworths, they both said yes. Now, that breaks records. I mean, 1 month later, it was on shelf. This thing took off. Our hand wash became the #1 and #2 best-selling hand wash in the country. Like, it's just, if you're graphing it, the story just goes kind of up and then down and then up, and then it takes off. And our impact grows. We've now raised over $7 million. And
wow.
Just
so I was going to ask, $7 million has gone to charity now.
Yeah.
If you're investing all of the profits in impact, how do you create the capital necessary to grow?
Yeah, so that is such a good question. And one of the great flaws and challenges in our model is, I mean, we can always retain a little bit of, capital to keep the thing afloat, right? To make sure, as a business, we are staying solvent and we're being responsible. But the real challenge, you've just tapped into it, is getting that injection of cash for kind of new ventures or new markets. And traditionally, I mean, you open up to investment. So you invite an investor to take equity, but that doesn't work at Thankyou. Our business is owned 100% by our charitable trust. And I don't have equity. Justine doesn't. No investor does. And that's part of the purity of the model, that this is all for one purpose. But then from a fundraising perspective, it's tough. So to solve our great business flaw, it was like 2.5 years ago now, nearly 3, we launched a little video on YouTube. And I remember in this video, it was really simple. We said, hey, everyone, the idea is working in Australia. We want to take it further. We don't have any money. But what if we, you, me, us, what if we could scale it? And I have a copy with me, but in the video, I held up this book titled Chapter 1 and said 100% of the profit from this book, Chapter 1, will fund Chapter 2, the future of Thankyou. And we invited people to buy the book, read the story and fund the future. And we love this thought that all of a sudden we go from readers, which is usually the only role we play in a book, to now social investors in an idea that we believe could change the world. So in this launch video, which got 700,000 views in like the first 2 weeks, the video said, we want to take Thankyou into the diaper category or nappies, depending what part of the world you're in.
Yeah.
And then we want to go into New Zealand as a test. And if this works in New Zealand, we want to take this further. But those 2 ideas alone will need to raise from this book $1.2 million. Now that is a lot of dollars and that is a lot of books, because in Australia, a best-selling book is 5,000 copies. And you'd be lucky to make $50,000 profit.
Right.
So if anyone watches the video, I literally say, so we're selling this book with no retail price. It's pay what you want. And that's in retail store. And then I also said, I'm going to stand in this warehouse and I'm going to pack books until we raise $1.2 million. And some people are like, you'll be in there forever. And that was a chance. And I literally remember packing books day in, day out. But within 2 hours of the launch, we raised $360,000. And within 1 month, we didn't hit our 1.2 million target. We hit $1.44 million.
Wow.
Things were wild. I mean, it was amazing. And some people paid, I'm trying to think in US terms, but in Australia, like 10 cents, 5 cents, literally pennies. Some people paid pennies for this, which is a bit disappointing. But some people paid. Well, there was a 7,500, then a 10,000. The most is now 50,000 for one copy.
Wow.
And And that's at one end of the spectrum. Then you've got Landon, who's 10, and he bought like 4 copies with his pocket money, then 18 copies, and he gifts them to people he thinks should go on to change the world. And it just, to me, shows the power of people. And our bookstore partner, our retail partner, they didn't think it was going to work. You know, pay what you want in a retail environment. But we ended up winning their innovation award. It was second only to their Harry Potter launch week, which is just crazy. Yeah. It's the power of people.
Now, Daniel, you alluded to something that I imagine haunts you just a little bit. You said bottled water is, I think you said it's the silliest product in the world, or something to that effect.
Yeah, literally.
It is kind of crazy that we all buy bottled water as often as we do, but it does have a really significant adverse environmental impact. And we're all more attuned to that now than we were a decade ago. How are you thinking and dealing with that now as a bottled water distributor or manufacturer?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I mean, we started in water, 2 things. One, not wanting to grow the market, but wanting to offer a choice for someone. If you were to join the market, here's a choice. But we assumed that when we got into it, there'd be a really simple way to make it sustainable. And so we entered almost naively thinking, oh, this will be easy to make it sustainable. And then we go on this journey and we discover, whoa, I mean, there's a heap of green ticks you can get. There's some biodegradable technology, which sounds really cool to consumers. I first loved the idea of it until people who actually understand the full environmental impact of that technology, it's not better than plastic. And it was sort of a wrestle for us. And so very quickly we went, well, this whole bottled water thing is our history and it's where we started, but it's not our future. We just launched Thankyou into New Zealand, and that launch went well, and there's some challenges, and we've learned a lot through the whole New Zealand process, but we didn't launch water into New Zealand. So it was our genesis, but we didn't take it there, and we're certainly not taking that product, single-use plastic, to the world. In fact, water right now represents a tiny part of the business. We've now expanded into all the other products, and we have a really cool project underway, which we'll launch next year. That is, it's the idea of water, but it is not single-use plastic, which we're really excited about.
Excellent. Well, as you think about the future, what is the future of Thankyou? Where do you go from here?
Where do you think we could go, Devin?
Well, there are always, you could do new products in Australia, or you could do new markets like New Zealand and the United States, and those are very different markets, at least in scale. Yeah. Where do you think you'll go?
So look, we like to, I always ask people that question, but I just love to see where people think this could go. And most people don't see a limit to Thankyou. I know we certainly don't. I mean, maybe Thankyou will never go into cigarettes. That's the limit. I'm definitely, there are some limits here, but I think we fundamentally believe that we live in this one planet that has these 2 extremes: extreme poverty, extreme consumerism. And here is a product, a concept that exists to solve and help solve extreme poverty. And these products are not Australian. I mean, I haven't done all the research, but I'm pretty sure in America, I've been there enough, people wash their hands. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hand washing. These products are global products. It is solving a global cause. And so without giving too much away, Devin, I know we have a deep belief of this idea, traveling. And in fact, I had this really incredible opportunity, one I'll never forget. And it was an interview with a certain American who is quite, he's got some profile. And I only found out about the interview 24 hours before it happened. But he interviewed myself and 3 other young people. And he said, Daniel, markets are global now. When's this coming to the world? And my answer, I said, President Obama, well, we're working on it. We're about to launch it to New Zealand. And if that works, we look forward to seeing where this could go. And I'll never forget that interview. And in fact, I gave President Obama a pack of our hand wash. And he made this simple comment. I'll never forget it. It's like, oh, Michelle, the girls and I, we wash our hands. This will be great. I thought, isn't that interesting? We all wash our hands. And so there is a belief that this could go further. And we are working right now on our biggest launch that we've ever worked on. Something much bigger than Coles and Woolworths in Chapter 1. And it has a real shot at taking this idea to scale. And that will take our impact of 857,000 people to scale. And we hope hundreds and, hundreds of millions of people in time. So
as you reflect on all that you've accomplished, and I realize you're young and you have your future ahead of you, as we were just discussing, but as you reflect back, what are you most proud of having accomplished so far?
We're young still. I mean, we started at 19. I think I'm now 31. Justine's 32. We're married, by the way, for anyone who's listening. So we started out dating. Now we're married, and we have our son Jed. And if you can listen carefully, you'll probably hear him running around the house somewhere. Even though I said, could he, quiet, stay quiet for this interview? But I think there's something about this that is this realization that we made a decision when we were younger to do something, and it was bigger than us, and it was, if we do our job right, will far outlast us. We see Thankyou transcending, the founders, the team that started it. We think this thing should be built to last, and we're putting all that energy into that. And, at the time we thought it would be easy. It wasn't. And the part I'm probably the most proud of was sticking at the journey, because what's hard to understand from that side of the camera is the number of times we wanted to give up. I mean, we have quit. Justine and I have both quit this thing so many times. We've even sent each other letters. Like, I'm formally resigning. We sort of joke about it, but it's this reality. And I think for anyone who's starting anything, anyone who's working to create change, anyone who's really trying to take a dream and make it a reality, for all of us, there is such a wrestle, because it's not easy. It can be lonely, but I think we have to keep going. You have to keep going. If you can do that, that's something you should be really proud of.
Yeah. You suggested that when you launched, 19 years old, you shared the story of promising product in 3 weeks without kind of appreciating how hard that would be. There's a lot you didn't know when you started.
Yeah. It's
been a dozen years. You know a lot now. What's the most important lesson you've learned?
I mean, the most important lesson, I think, it's sort of found in what you just said, but learning, which is, one of our values at Thankyou, and it sounds like a super old traditional thing, but learning is like time travel. It is a weapon. You learn formally, you learn informally, you learn from mistakes, but everything is learning. We in our last even 2 years have had some really, really challenging failures as an organization, some things that we launched that didn't work. And there's two ways to process that. One is we're hopeless, and, you can kind of spiral down. And another is to go, well, actually, no, there were some really good insights there. There's also some good insights on what didn't work. And if we have the courage to really look at that, if we have the willingness to get out there and to meet with mentors and to read the books and to listen to the podcasts and to watch the interviews, like you can literally go from a kid in your bedroom who knows nothing about anything to it turns out leading some things that have some pretty big scale and impact. So I think the biggest lesson is that, like, never underestimate the power of learning, but here's the watch out. And this is tied to it. The more you know, yes, it helps, but sometimes it's that alone that can block you from the greatest advancements that our world needs. And so it's this balance of learning, but being willing to, and one of our favorite things we talk about at Thankyou is to get a result the world's never got before. We have to be prepared to do something the world's never seen before. To deliver on that, you have to learn, but you also have to be willing to push the boundaries, to break some norms, to be willing to put yourself out there. And I think that is in part what we've learned. And that is the secret of, Thankyou success.
Daniel, you talked a little bit about the experience you had learning about young people being exposed to waterborne diseases and the epiphany you had with consumerism as a founding moment for you and the organization. At the same time, you must appreciate that millions of people have that moment where, while drinking a cool, refreshing beverage of one sort or another, or in some places, a warm, refreshing beverage. But in any case, they begin to appreciate somewhere in the world there is someone who lacks access even to clean water. Yeah. And they appreciate this travesty, this tragedy. In fact, they're many of your customers. But they don't launch a business to address that problem at scale. What was it about you that gave you the courage and the tenacity, the stick-to-itiveness and the persistence to spend years spooling up this business?
It's a big question, Devin. I hope you got time. It's a big question because I mean, Simon Sinek, he's an incredible thought leader, and I think many of us will be familiar with his work around, starting with why and why behind what you do. And I think it's really important. And in short, the answer is, I knew why I was doing it. And that why was a foundation. But the long kind of unpacking of that is, I mean, this goes deep. And this, if you met me at school, I was the kid running around the schoolyard selling everything. I was selling, we call them gobstoppers. I think you guys call them jawbreakers. I was, just anything that was on trend, and I was reading business books from a young age. I just liked them. It was just really interesting. And so in my teenage years, I was, bizarrely at school doing currency trading kind of on my computer and after hours. And I just was really interested in money and commerce and business. And so that's me. Justine, just as an important part of this journey, she was also passionate about business and marketing, but she traveled to developing countries from the age of 14. So unlike me, so she'd make money too from selling clothes and making stuff, but then she would use that money to travel to the field and help out in communities, which blows my mind. That wasn't me. But when you start to thread this stuff together, I mean, in this moment for me in front of my computer, I was moved, but I saw something. And I feel like I have a mind, and maybe you're like this too, Devin, but once I see something, I find it very hard to unsee it. And what I saw wasn't just need, it was this need wrestled with, I don't, at this point at 19, know everything about money and how the world works, but I've met with enough people, read enough books to know we have a lot of it. And so once you filter that through that, it's an uncomfortable thing. And then this simple idea of a product company, this is infinite scale. And so for me, I would say cause, absolutely, and vision. It's the two of those things. The vision is making a difference, but it's also empowering, and our vision statement is empowering humanity to choose a world without poverty. It's that picture I see, and I can't walk away from it. And I've tried many times, but it's walking away from, well, not just that vision, it's walking away from that moment in front of my computer. In chapter 1, I talk about moments like I believe our purpose and our why is found in moments, and there's so many of them, and they're personal. I mean, I had a moment in the field walking in a country called Burundi with Vianney, and seeing the water he used to collect when he was 12, and it was dirty water, and now seeing the water he has. And so that moment for me, combine that with hundreds of others, and it starts to paint this picture of like, I can't walk away from this. And there's an inherent drive in there to see this vision come to pass. And, I think for me, faith played into it as well. I talk in chapter 1 a little bit about a moment I had, which just it was a cool little moment, but I was anyway, I had a moment in my own personal faith journey that just was a light bulb of, I think this is what I'm meant to do. And once you combine all of those things, you start to build out a really strong why. And when you have a strong why, like Simon Sinek says, I mean, you know why you're doing what you're doing, and I believe you can achieve some of the most impossible things. Yeah, look, I think moments for me is actually it's a way that all of us can discover our why, our purpose. I really believe that when you know why you do what you do, you'll get up again and again and again. In fact, I love this picture of maybe a doll that we all used to play with, or our friends play with as kids, that has a weight at the bottom, and you knock it over and it bounces up again and again and again because it's got this weight. That weight is your purpose. It's your why. It's knowing why you do what you do. And to dig deep for all of us, it's complex. Like, I think for when I look at my own why and the moments that have defined me, it's from the kid running around the schoolyard selling stuff. It's moments in front of my computer. It's moments on the field, in parts of Africa and Cambodia and Asia, and just these moments of people going, this has changed some of their life and trajectory. I got to play a part in that. I can't walk away from this. My own personal faith played a part in this journey of just thinking about others and helping people, and that drive, the vision of what this could one day be, and almost the ability to not unsee that picture. These are all things that make up that foundation for me. So why did I start and keep going? It's found in moment after moment after moment. And over the years, once you combine them, it becomes quite a strong weight that I think can propel you to go again and again and again.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Daniel, what is your superpower?
I'd love to know what the team think. Or Justine. I wonder if the superpower is faith in ideas that might seem impossible, but I sort of wonder what if it could work. Faith in people, that people are more good than bad, and to be honest, together we can achieve the most impossible things. And it's that faith's probably the best word I got to describe that. But I just believe we can, and I believe we can do remarkable things together. And over the journey, that's pretty much all I've done. It's just shared a vision of where I reckon we could go, and maybe with your help we could get there. And Devin, when we launched this idea in other markets, man, we need you, and if you're coming on the journey, let's do it. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I really appreciate it. I know you're super busy. Before you go, would you take just 1 minute and tell people how they can learn more about Thankyou and how they can buy a copy of Chapter 1, if that's still an option?
Yeah, it is. The book keeps selling, which is good. We've just hit $2.5 million raised, and look, you can pick up a copy of Chapter 1, pay what you want on our website, thankyou.co/Chapter 1. But visit thankyou.co. It's just a CO. We unfortunately couldn't afford .com. It was like $1 million, but .co was $300, so we bought that. But look at the projects, look at the work, look at the products. And right now, everything is only currently available to be sold. Other than Chapter 1, products are sold in Australia and New Zealand, but we are getting ready for our next launch. And so I'd encourage people to follow us on our social media channels, at Thankyou Oz, even at Thankyou New Zealand. But what's coming is much bigger, and we're going to need people. And there'll be a moment, we're not sure if we're publicly talking about it, but February 21 is the current date, right? So that's like we're 13, 14 months out. But that's a moment in time where we need everyone who's ever heard of Thankyou to join us in this next chapter. And hopefully we'll have you there on the journey.
Yeah, fantastic. Again, Daniel, thank you for making the time for us. And we wish you every success in addressing extreme poverty around the world through extreme commerce.
Thank you.
All righty. Let's do some good.
Devin Thorpe's mission is to end extreme poverty, improve global health, and mitigate climate change before 2045 by finding and sharing the stories of those who are doing the most good.
Thanks for tuning in to the Your Mark on the World show, the Social Impact Podcast. Please subscribe via YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify.